GM, welcome to the Crypto Magic College. Recently, you might have heard a phrase, everything can be RWA. It sounds pretty exciting, but there are two key words missing here, tokenization and on-chain. RWA stands for Real-World Assets Tokenization, which means the tokenization of real-world assets. A lot of people, upon hearing this, think it means putting houses, gold, grapes, basically all kinds of assets or data directly onto the blockchain. But in reality, that's simply impossible. The blockchain world and the real world are two physically actually completely separate worlds. On the blockchain, essentially, it is a decentralized ledger system that can only record information. It's just like an online store. It doesn't have any physical presence. In the blockchain world, there is also no concept of real-world time. For example, 10 minutes later, or exactly 7 o'clock, these concepts simply do not exist on the chain. On the blockchain, time can only be represented indirectly through block height and the timeline, and the timeline is only generated after a transaction is packaged into a block. In other words, its time cannot be synchronized and can never be as precise as in the real world. Therefore, it is impossible for any real-world asset or data to be directly synchronized onto the blockchain. So what exactly is RWA that we often talk about? What RWA truly does is establish a correspondence between real-world assets and blockchain assets. A certificate is issued on the blockchain and it corresponds to a specific asset in the real world. The value of this certificate is anchored by the off-chain asset and its redeemability. For example, the BUSD fund maps shares of a money market fund onto Ethereum. The tokenized green bonds issued by the Hong Kong government register the bonds on the blockchain, but the funds and the actual notes are still settled in off-chain banks. Siemens' digital bonds are registered on a public blockchain under Germany's Electronic Securities Act, but the assets themselves still circulate and change hands in the real world. So, when we talk about the essence of RWA, it's not about transferring assets, but about issuing a mapped certificate and establishing a reliable anchoring mechanism. Its value depends not only on the on-chain token itself, but also on the credibility of its off-chain legal custody, compliance, and so on. So, I want to remind everyone, don't get carried away by the slogan, everything can be RWA. The real magic isn't about making assets appear on-chain out of thin air, but about establishing an anchor that reliably links real-world assets and on-chain certificates.